We are back on Inside Politics, talking about what's coming up in the Tennessee General Assembly with a panel of reporters. One of the issues that's come up, and we have both Republicans and Democrats offering fairly similar bills about this, Chaz, would allow over-the-counter prescription drugs. Right now you have to get it from a doctor, but this would allow a pharmacist to be involved and do that. The sponsor says, well, this is something we need to do. It's being done in states like California and Oregon. But that's not generally where this Republican supermajority goes to look for bills to put, or new laws to put in Tennessee. Has this bill got a chance to pass?
Man, that's a very good question, I have to say. I think it's something that, as Senator Dickerson, the sponsor of it, says, it's something that's been out there for a long time, and it maybe has a better chance than you might think, to be honest with you.
Sam, you're hearing about a new bill that's coming in that's just being introduced that would allow for online voter registration, and it's being sponsored by Republicans. Now, that's not generally what you hear the Republicans getting into. They usually get blamed for doing things like voter ID. What's this bill about?
Well, it's going to allow people to register to vote online. Gerald McCormick, a leader in the House, and Ken Yeager, one of the chairmen in the state Senate, are sponsoring it. And to me, it seems like it kind of it may run a little bit counter to the Voter ID Act that they passed a few years ago. And maybe this will kind of loosen things up and make it easier for people to register to vote.
Andrea, it wouldn't be a Tennessee legislative session without a big fight over guns, and I'm sure there's a number of bills already been put up there. What's the one most likely to get the most? Is it going to be sort of open carry, constitutional carry anywhere in the state? Is that where the legislature is going next with gun rights?
You know, I mean, that's one that's been on the burner for a long time, though, and the fact that it hasn't moved very far yet probably means that it might only be able to take a couple additional steps in this session. But yeah, I don't think it ends up going all the way this year.
Chaz, medical marijuana, it seemed like it was getting some support last year. I think there was a study session about it this summer, and then suddenly the Haslam administration took a very hard line about that. Has that basically gone back to the back of the line, not very likely to pass? Just given the controversial nature, although a number of states continue to adopt it.
I think that the people who are in favor of it, they really felt like that those hearings really sandbagged them in a way, that it wasn't really much of a hearing. So I certainly don't think it's going to go to the back burner. I think they're going to try to push this thing yet again. One of the real advantages of this bill, the online voting bill, even the contraceptive bill, it's a way for moderates to kind of show that they're a little bit more, that they're not they're not the extreme Republicans that maybe they're painted out to be.
Sam, sometimes it used to be in the old days in the legislature when they met longer into the year that they put some of the more controversial things off until after the qualifying deadline, which is April 6th this year. Well, this year, April 6th, they'll be all but shut down, ready to go home. So it changes the dynamics of the legislature.
Well, I think they're probably going to have all the big issues early. And then it seems as if
they're getting out of Dodge.
It seems as if the goal is to get out of town as quickly as possible. And I know a lot of the Democrats have complained that doesn't give very much time to really debate the issues thoroughly, and they just feel like a lot of the bills that are passed or are not passing don't get a fair hearing.
Andrew, you mentioned a merit pay system that the governor has been looking at. That got some criticism from a recent audit done by the state comptroller. Is he going to have a problem now going forward with that plan because of that audit?
Likely, I imagine that will trip him up to some extent, but whether it's merit pay or whether it's trying to boost pay for teachers or educational employees, I think it's still going to be something that's high up on the governor's radar.
I want to ask sort of inside politics question about the media. Andrew, you have a story about sort of the slowly vanishing Capitol Hill press corps. It's much smaller than it used to be, yet all three of you have so much more work to do. We've talked about all these issues. We haven't touched all of them. Is it getting harder and harder to cover the legislature just because there's so few of you, so many, and so few outlets to cover the news? Yeah,
the story which was in this week's Nashville Scene, it illustrates that. And I think the thing that you take that further is like the legislative session, as you just said, is getting shorter and shorter, and you have fewer reporters than we used to, which also means the process moves a lot quicker. Bills move through committees a lot faster. You have fewer eyes to try to look at those. But on top of that, it's also trying to understand the nuance of what that legislation is, who it would affect, what it actually means, how much it would really cost going beyond, like doing all of the hard reporting work. It ends up meaning that you have to pick and choose your battles, which means that there's a lot of bills that don't get nearly the attention that they probably would have 15, 20, 30 years ago.
Andrea, thanks for coming on the show today. Sam and Chaz, thank you all for being here. Lots of issues we didn't get to, but I'm sure we'll probably have you back later during the session between now and April and talk about it some more.
All right. Thanks
And
a lot.
thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you can be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.